Hello, welcome back to Statistics and Mathematics YouTube channel. Today I'm going to continue a series of video on statistical method 1. And then what we will be discussing today is what? Conditional probability. Conditional probability is a very good probability theorem that we usually use in our daily living, right? So for conditional probability is usually is an expression that is usually in a form of what? A joint and what? Marginal what? Probability. So basically, conditional probability is equal to joint probability divided by what? Marginal probability. So for instance, let's assume that two events is given to us, right? Event A and what? Event B, right? And this event A and event B is being expressed in a form of what? Conditional probability. If this event A and B is being expressed in the form of conditional probability, then basically it can be written in the form of this one, right? The I and then II. So for the I, what we can see here is just the probability that event A occurs, given that event B has already been what? Occurred, right? So when you come here, probability that event A occurred, given that event B has already been what? Occurred, is equal to probability of A intersects B divided by probability of what? B. So basically that is how the I can be explained. For the II, it's just probability that event B occurs, given that event A has already what? Occurred. So probability that B okay, given that A has already been what? Occurred. So this one can also be expressed as probability of A intersect B divided by probability of what? A. So when you look for the I and the II, there is a little bit difference between the I and the II. You could see that for the I, the denominator is what? Probability of B. For the II, the denominator is probability of what? A. But for the numerator for the I and the numerator for the II, they are what? The same. So this is how conditional probability can be what? Expressed. So let's walk through some example for us to really appreciate what you have discussed about. So for example 1, we are saying that a box contains black chips and the white chips, right? A person selects two chips without replacement, right? Without replacement. If the probability of selecting a black chip and a white chip is what? 15 divided by 36, and the probability of selecting a black chip is on the first draw is what? 3/8. Find the probability of selecting a white chip on the second draw, given that the first chip selected was a black what chip, right? So here we have been asked what? A conditional probability what question. But first let's walk through gradually for us to really understand the word problem that has been given to us. So we said in a box contains a black chip and a white chip. So here you use B to represent what? A black what chip, and then we use what? W to represent what? A white chip, right? Yes. And then we are saying that a person select two chips without replacement. If the probability of selecting a black chip and a white chip is 15/36, so it means that probability of selecting a black chip, which we have represented by what? B, right? That is B, and the N means what? Intersect, right? So N, right? The white chip would be what? W is equal to what? 15 divided by 36. So you have been given this one, right? And the probability of selecting a black chip on the first draw was what? 36. So a black chip, right? So probability of selecting what? A black chip, that's B, is given as what? 3 divided by what? 8. So a question is asked that we should find the probability of selecting a white chip on the second draw, given that the first draw selected was what? A black chip. So we should find probability of what? We are asked to find probability of what? Selecting what? A white chip, which is what? W, given that we have given that we have already selected what? A black chip, which is what? The B, right? So here we have this expression, right? So this is what you have been asked to solve, right? But this can be expressed as probability of W intersect what? B divided by probability of what? B, right? Which has already been expressed on the worksheet here, right? Probability of B and W, and the N here means what? Intersect, right? So it's the same thing as this one. So B intersect W divided by probability of what? B. So this already you know that probability of B intersect W is what? 15 divided by 36, right? So you come and write 15 divided by 36. Sorry, there is a mistake here, right? This place is supposed to be what? 56, right? I'm very sorry. Here is supposed to be 56, not 36, right? 56. So here I have to get what? 56, right? 56. So I'm sorry, let's continue. So here we are getting 15 divided by what? 56, right? And then the probability of B was also giving us what? 3/8. And then we can just simplify it. Once we simplify it, we are going to get our final answer to what? 5 divided by what? 7. Because here we can just write 15 divided by 56 divided by 3 divided by 8. And if we want to change it to multiplication, we just turn this one upside down. We are going to get 15 divided by 56 times 8 divided by 3, of which we are going to get 5 divided by 7 to be what? Our final answer. Hence, the probability of selecting a white chip on the second try, given that the first chip selected was black, is 5 divided by what? 7. So let's go to our second example. This is what our second example. The probability that Sam parks in a no parking zone and gets a parking ticket is 0.06. The probability that Sam cannot find a legal parking space and has to park in no parking zone is 0.20. On Tuesday, Sam arrived at school and has to park in no parking zone. Find the probability that he will get a parking zone. Right, so let's analyze this one for us to really understand. So here we are talking about no parking zone and then tickets, right? Parking tickets, right? That is what we are busily discussing here. So here we come here, we will make our N represent what? Parking in no parking zone, right? That's what parking in no parking zone. As you have here, that is said the probability that some parks in a no parking zone, right, and get a parking ticket is that. So let's use letters to represent what? Our sentences, right? So here our N will represent what? Parking in no parking zone, and a T will represent what? Getting a ticket, right? Parking ticket, getting a ticket, right? So that is what we use to represent, right? And our question here says that find the probability that he will get what? A parking ticket, right? He will get what? A parking ticket. So already he said he has parked in no parking zone, right? He has parked in what? A no parking zone here. If he has parked in a no parking zone and still will get a parking ticket, this is what a conditional probability. So here it means that we are going to have probability of, right? We are going to have probability of getting a ticket, given that you are parking in no parking zone. That is what? N, right? Yes, that is how this can be what? Expressed. So this one will be given as probability of getting a ticket intersect probability of parking in a no parking zone, which is what? N, divided by probability of parking in no parking zone, right? So this is how it can be expressed. But when it comes to the question, probability of T intersect N was given as 0.06, right? So when you come here, it says that the question says that the probability that Sam parks in a no parking zone and get a ticket, right? No parking zone and what? Get a ticket is what? 0.06, as you can see here. And the probability of when we come here to, is that probability that Sam cannot find a legal parking space and has a parking and has to park in no parking zone is what? 0.2. So here the N is what? Parking in a no parking zone, right? So probability of parking in a no parking zone, right? No parking zone is what? 0.20, right? So right now we have 0.06 and a 0.20, right? So this is what we have. Once we have these two, right, it's easy for us to find our probability, right? Conditional probability. So here we are going to have P into bracket N intersect T divided by probability of N. So you are going to get 0.06 divided by 0.20, of which our final answer would be what? 0.30, right? So hence, Sam has 0.30 probability of getting a parking ticket, given that he parked in no parking what? Zone, right? Yes. So for our last question, this is our last question. It says, a recent survey asked 100 people if they thought women in armed forces should be permitted to participate in a combat, right? The results of the survey are shown. So here we have gender, male and female. We have yes, no, right? So here for yes, we have yes total to be what? 40 for the male and female. No total to be what? 60 for male and female. When it comes to the male, for those gender who said yes and no, right? For males who said yes and no, we are having 50. For females who said yes and no, we are having what? 50. And the total number of observations that we have here is what? 100. When we add the yes and the no's, you are getting 100. When you add male and female, you are getting what? 100, right? And then he said, find these probabilities, right? The respondent answered yes, given that a respondent was what? A female. That's the first question. But first, we have to use letters to represent our statement for us to really appreciate what we are being asked to calculate for, right? So here, our M represents what? Our M is what? Respondent was what? A male, right? Those who respond was what? A male. And the F, the respondent was what? A female. And for Y, respondent answered yes. And the N, respondent answered what? No. Right? So these are the letters that we are going to use to make our calculation very simple, right? So when it comes to the A, it says the respondent answered yes, given that the respondent was what? A female. And you can see clearly that this one will be probability of what? Yes, given what? Female. So we know that the yes represents what? Y. And then female represents what? F. So probability of Y given what? F. And this one can be expressed as probability of Y intersect what? F. Divided by probability of what? F. And then here we know that probability of Y intersect F is in the question. When we come here, probability of probability of female, right? And the yes, when we trace it, they are intersecting at what? 8, right? So here probability of yes intersect F is giving us 8 divided by what? 100. Yes, because take your time so that I'll really help you to understand. Because if you come here, you could see clearly that when we come here, this is a male. So here we are just locating where male and yes will intersect, right? That's basically what we are looking for. So when we come here, male and yes intersect at what? 8. And the total number of observations is what? 100. That's the reason we are having 8 divided by what? 100, right? 8 divided by what? 100. And then for the down one, we are having probability of what? Female, right? Respondent being what? Female. And respondent being female. When we come here, we are going to add everything here. That's 8 plus 42, giving us what? 50. That's the total. So if you are talking about probability, it's supposed to divide by what? The total number of events. So you are going to have 50 divided by what? 100, right? So when we come down here, right now we have probability of yes intersect F to be 8 over 100 and probability of F to be what? 50 over 100. So once we get this one, the work is done, right? So here, probability of yes given F is what? 8 divided by what? 100 divided by 50 divided by what? 100. And then when we express it, we are going to get 8 divided by 50 and our final answer will be 4 divided by what? 25. And let's go to our second question. Our second question is saying that the respondent was a male, given that the respondent answered no, right? So here we are having probability that the probability of male given what? No, which can be expressed as probability of male intersect what? N, divided by probability of what? N. So right now we have to just locate where male and no intersect, right? So male, here is male and here is no, so they are intersecting at what? 18, right? So here probability of M intersect N is giving us what? 18 divided by what? 100, and probability of what n is giving us. You see, for the probability of n, that's the no, we are just going to add 18 to 42 to get what 60, right? So probability of no will give us 60 divided by what 100, right? So right now we have our probability of n. Our probability of n intercept m, right? So here, once you have this one, the work is done. So I've done it here. So we have probability of m intercept n and probability of n, and we have 18 divided by 100 and then 60 divided by 100. Once we cancel this, we are going to get 18 divided by 60, and our final answer will be 3 divided by 10. So this is Statistics and Mathematics YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe, like and share, and don't forget to leave your comment at the comment section. Thank you for watching. Bye. Have a great day.